Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to the Gaming Rules monthly video log for January 2021. Now I normally like to do these video logs sort of in the first week of the month because it kind of covers what I did in the previous month, but December's was quite late and I was going to do this last week, but then I thought, hang on a minute, I haven't actually played that many games since the last one. So I've delayed it to this week and here we are. Hopefully February's one will be done in the first week of February, he says, cross fingers. So this video log, for those of you who haven't seen my previous video logs, is basically a summary of everything that I've been doing since the last video log, which this time covers 4 weeks worth. It covers all of the games that I've been playing, all of the content that I've created, various other bits that I've been up to, and an update on what's coming next month. So first of all, let's start with all of the games that I've played since the last video log. And according to my list here, the first one is Kingdom Rush on the 18th of December. So this was actually quite a special playthrough because it was with Isaac Childress, designer of Gloomhaven, and me and Isaac had actually been speaking about playing a game together online for quite some time. And we never actually managed to find a time that was suitable. And eventually we decided on Friday, the 18th of December, and I gave Isaac basically a list of games. He gave me a list of games. We talked about it for a while and we settled on Kingdom Rush. Now, Kingdom Rush is a game that I'd already covered on the channel. I've done a couple of solo playthroughs of the game, and me and my team were involved in writing the rulebook for this game, or helping to write the rulebook anyway. And yeah, it was a game that Isaac said, he's keen to learn how to play it. He'd actually seen my previous solo playthrough, and he fancied giving it a go himself. So yeah, so if you want to see that, if you want to see me and Isaac playing through Kingdom Rush, unfortunately, one of many technical issues that we had in that month meant that there was various issues with the stream and we had to switch over from using Skype to Discord. So apologies for that if you do watch it. Bear with us through the video. We do manage to sort those issues out. But yeah, I was having all sorts of technical issues, which I've sort of managed to be able to resolve until last night when those issues came back again. Anyway, Kingdom Rush, for those who don't know, this is a game which was a successful Kickstarter, has been delivered to backers recently. So backers have been starting to get it. It is a tower defense style game based on a very popular digital app. It's a fully cooperative game. It's 1 to 4 players, and it's a puzzle game. Now, I've said many times, I probably said it on the last monthly video log, and I definitely said it in my videos, that this game caught me by surprise. Based on the cartoony style artwork of the game, I thought that this was going to be a game that wasn't really for me. However, after playing it, and realizing how much of a puzzle game it is, it's actually quite clever in the way that it works. Yeah, there's a series of scenarios, there's a whole load of variability in the game. Even though the scenario is the same, you will be facing different enemies, so you will learn bits about the game the first time you play it. In fact, most people, when they play it the first time, lose, and lose horribly. And I know that can put some people off a game because they go, oh my God, this game is crazy hard. The game is not crazy hard. It's just that there's certain tips and tricks that you need to learn about how the game works mechanically in order to win the game. For example, you can, there are these trays of hordes which move along the path. And when they go off the end, they will deal damage to your, base or whatever. You can lock them in place, and that can sometimes be a really good strategy by putting soldiers on them to keep them busy so that they don't move, and then you can finish them off next turn. But because each of the spaces on the road can only have one tray in it, if a tray moves and there's already a tray in position, it jumps over it. What you can have happen is you can have trays jumping over multiple trays and zooming to the end, and suddenly you've lost. And the first time I played it, I lost that scenario, but I went, okay, right, now I know why I lost that scenario. I will try it again. This is one of many games that I want to play more. I'm glad that I played, we did 2 games with Isaac that day. I think we did Scenarios 2 and Scenario 3. So I've played Scenario 1 a couple of times now, solo and multiplayer, and I've played Scenarios 2 and Scenarios 3. I'm still just unlocking stuff, and I've only got the base game. The Kickstarter was loads of expansion content, loads of extra boxes, and a whole ton of extra stuff. If you've played Kingdom Rush, let me know what you think. It's definitely a game I want to go back to more. Next up, on the 22nd of December, I played Batman Gotham City Chronicles. Now, this is not on the channel, okay? You will not find a video for this on the channel, but me and Rick played a full game of it that afternoon. And the reason why it's not on the channel is Me and my team are responsible for writing the rulebook for the new version of the game. The original rulebook for Batman Gotham City Chronicles got a lot of negative press, and I got given the job of rewriting it, and a couple of members of my team have been working on it. I've been working on it a bit, and then on the 22nd of December, me and Rick basically played through a game of it trying to use the new rulebook. So Rick had never seen the game before, had never seen the original rulebook. We sent a copy to him. I was going through and I was reading through it, and the best test of a rulebook is to actually try and play the game from the rulebook and see what happens in the game. So I actually played a full game of it. I can't really give you my honest opinion on the game for a couple of reasons. The first one is I've been professionally hired to basically work on the game professionally. So it would be wrong of me to say, this is the best game ever, you must all go out and buy it, or this game was absolutely rubbish, when I've been professionally asked to write on the rulebook. Now, saying that, the game is very clever in what it does in some ways. A lot of the criticism about the game has been on the rulebook, but there were certain parts of the game that mechanically were interesting and different, and I could see how it works. Now, you know me. If you don't know me, I'll explain it. I'm a medium to heavy Euro game player. That's my sweet spot of games. I don't play miniature skirmish combat games. That's not my thing. So this is not the kind of game which I would particularly go out and, rush to play. But saying that, I actually enjoyed this. And this is one of the upsides or downsides of working in the industry. Sometimes when I work on a project which is not the kind of game that I would go anywhere near normally, not because it's bad, just because it's not my style, sometimes you get involved in it and you get invested in it, and then you think, oh, actually, I'm starting to see why the people who play these kind of games and why the people who like these games actually do like these games. And as a bit of therapy, I've been painting through a lot of miniatures. So I've painted quite a lot of the Batman miniatures. I'll put some images on screen now of some of the miniatures that I've painted for the game. And, it does enhance the experience. It was really nice playing the game with the painted miniatures, because I'd spent weeks and weeks and weeks painted these and never actually, got round to using them. So that was quite nice. We just played one scenario. Rulebook work is still going on, progressing well, did more over Christmas. I'm doing more this month. So yeah, is it a game that I would actually play again? I actually think I would now. In the right situation, at the right time, now that I've understood the rules and now that I've painted the miniatures, there's a lot of this game to actually, that's quite good. So yeah, I would play it again. Right, on the 26th, so this is Boxing Day, me and Vicky played one of the exit games. We've got a few exit games that we haven't played yet. This is Exit Forgotten Island. Now, as its name suggests, Forgotten Island, I can't remember much about this now. All of the exit games, we like them all, okay? There isn't a single one that we haven't enjoyed. We've enjoyed some more than others. So, for example, the roller coaster one was a bit simple for us. We still enjoyed it, but it was a bit lighter and it was aimed at more of a family audience. Dead Man on the Orient Express was quite difficult and we really enjoyed that one. So yeah, we've enjoyed all of them. I remember enjoying it, and I remember some of the puzzles being really good and some of the puzzles being a bit weird. That's the case with all of the exit games, okay? So if you're a fan of exit games, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know exit games, they are play once only, small box, Cosmos games, designed by Inca and Marcus Brand, although other people have helped them out. They're the two main names on the box. And if you like escape room style puzzle games, then you like these. As usual, we played the game without destroying any components, okay? Now, you are supposed to destroy components in these games. You're supposed to cut things up, bend things, fold things, puncture through things, do all sorts of things. We managed not to, okay? Because it's not that I sell the games on, it's just that I want to be able to sort of, I don't know, I'm one of those people who doesn't like destroying things. So, next up, Chronicles of Crime, 27th of December. Now, Chronicles of Crime is a game which has been out for quite a while. It's being talked about a lot at the moment because the Chronicles of Crime series has expanded, and recently Chronicles of Crime 1400 has just been released to retail, and the Kickstarter delivered Chronicles of Crime 2000 or something. There's a whole load of them now. I got the base game when it first came out, and I've only ever played case 1. There's only 5 cases in the original game. There's some downloadable expansions as well, but I'd only ever played the first case, and it's been sat out there on the shelf with me nagging Vicky, when are we going to play Chronicles of Crime? When are we going to play? Right, for literally a year and a half, maybe even 2 years. We agreed that we would play some games together over Christmas. We didn't play as many as I would have liked, but we played Chronicles of Crime. And we actually started with Case 1. Now, although we'd both played Case 1 before, the first 3 cases, I believe, are connected. Or, as I understand it, the first 3 cases were connected. Therefore, we didn't remember enough about it to go on to Case 2 if it relied on knowledge from Case 1. So we said, I'll tell you what, let's just play Case 1 again. We remember half of it, but we'll just breeze through it and we'll get up to date so we know where we are, and then we can do Case 2. So that's what we did. And we started playing it and we're like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember that's over there and and this person's this. Yeah, I remember that. So we were kind of flying through it, but then we got to a point where we got stuck. And we thought, because we've been flying through it and relying on our remembering from our previous playthrough, we may have missed some information. So we got to the point where we actually got really stuck and weren't sure where to go. And we had it in our heads. We were like, well, that person there looks familiar. I'm pretty sure it was him, but I can't remember how we get to him. What we're missing here? We kind of went in circles a bit. Anyway, we finished Case 1. We worked it out in the end. We did that. We did those questions. And then I'm going to zoom forward now to January the 2nd. We did Case 2. So the first 3 cases are connected. And we did Case 2 on January 2nd. I was hoping we'd have done Case 3 by now, but we haven't yet. So unfortunately, playing games in January with Vicky is quite difficult because she's an accountant and this is her busiest time of the year. So it's all full-on work, lots of stress, and needs evenings and weekends to relax. Whereas me, I play games to enjoy myself and relax. For Vicky, it's not something that she normally chooses to do to relax, as it were. So yeah, we've done the first 2 cases and yeah, hopefully we'll finish them soon. On the 29th of December, not quite the last game of the year, but me and Vicky got together with Rick and Victoria, again, playing over, just messenger video call. We played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Baker Street Irregulars, Green Box, case number 7. I talk about this in every monthly video log because at least once a month we are getting together and we are playing one of these cases. So this is case 7. We've only got 3 cases left of this box, and I say this every month. If you are a fan of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and you don't have the Baker Street Irregulars box, go out and buy it now because I'm on 10% commission. No, I'm not. It's the best box by far. And this is speaking as a fan of the original cases, but these new cases are brilliant. They're really good, really well written. And yeah, this case was interesting. Without giving too many spoilers away, I can tell you what you get told at the start of the case. There's this old English bloke, okay, and I think his wife died, and he's looking to get remarried, and he starts courting this woman, and it's all going well, and then he takes her to a fancy restaurant, and he's having a meal with her, and he presents her with some jewellery, and then he goes to the toilet, comes back, and she's gone, and the jewellery's there. So she didn't steal it, she just left, and he wants you to find her. And the story about who she is and what's going on was actually quite interesting. So we enjoyed this one. We've enjoyed all of them. But yeah, we enjoyed this one. And I think we actually scored, about 90. It's yet another one where we didn't think we were going to do well, but in the end, we did get most of the questions right. So yeah, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Finally, December 31st, we played a game of just one. Now, on December 31st, I had a bit of a Zoom party with a few friends, which was intended to be just about an hour and a half long. And we actually went on for 4 hours until about 5 minutes to midnight, at which point we all went, oh, it's New Year soon, we better disappear, see you all. And we played Just One. Just One is a fantastic game. I've spoken about it before because you can just play it with pens and paper. And in terms of lockdown and the global situation, if you need a game to play with family members around the world, wherever they are, who possibly even aren't into board games at all, you can play Just One. You can teach it in a minute. It's so quick, it's so fun, and every time I've played Just One, it's always been a lot of fun. This game of Just One was interesting because we had people, Isaac and Price joined us from America. We had lots of people from the UK joining us. So we had a mixture of cultures, and it was interesting to see what words people put down for things. And it also was interesting to see how many of the people in the chat, so how many mutual friends of mine, all knew stuff about Japanese computer games from the 1980s, right? Because I think one of the words that we had to describe was like ninja or something like that. And they were all putting all of these references that I've never heard of, right? They're all putting, and they were all like, oh yeah, such and such a thing, such and such a thing. Oh, and I'm like, what are you on about? I've never heard of any of this. So yeah, that was always good fun. Right, January. So I've mentioned we did Chronicles of Crime on the 2nd. That was the day before Vicky went back to work, I think. So I'm going to now start with the playthroughs that I'm doing in January, and I'll talk about this more later on. But on the 5th of January, and also on the 12th of January, was the start of my Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth series. So Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth is a game from Fantasy Flight Games, published by Asmodee, or distributed by Asmodee. It's a game which I have put in my top 10 games of 2019. I've only played it a few times, and I know it's app-driven, and I know it's got quite a lot of randomness, and I know it's a little bit repetitive, but I just love it. I really enjoy playing the game, and it has a campaign, and I've never got round to actually properly playing through the campaign in full. So one of my January plans was to start doing a series of live streams where I play through the campaign. On the 5th, that was the first one. That was a bit rusty because I had forgotten most of how to play. So I did one scenario and it took the whole of the afternoon. But again, these are not sponsored streams. So I didn't have the time it would take to properly, fully read through the rulebook and prepare. And I know lots of people do live streams that are all perfect, but I'm doing so many live streams at the moment, some of them are a bit rough and ready, okay? And that one was definitely that. So thank you to everybody in the chat for that first one, for helping me out with the rules. The second one went a lot better. And that was on the 12th of January, and I did scenarios 2 and 3. The progress has been saved. I will be going back to it next week. Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, if you're interested in that and seeing me play through the campaign, I'm using Legolas and Gimli as the two characters. It is a 1 to 5 player game, but in solo, you have to use 2 characters. So it's effectively a 2 to 5 player experience, but I'm playing it solo. And that's going to continue. It's going to be every Tuesday moving forward, but I might actually squeeze some extra ones in, if I can, because I don't think I'm going to get the campaign finished by the end of the month. On the 6th, I did Vicounts of the West Kingdom, 3-player game, playing over Tabletop Simulator. This was originally planned for the week before Christmas. Unfortunately, I got ill, so I had to cancel the stream, but we did it on the 6th. And yeah, Vicounts of the West Kingdom. I've previously played Architects of the West Kingdom at a friend of mine's house, Mark's house. I went round to his house and I played it and I thought, this is all right. I then played Paladins of the West Kingdom live a couple of months ago on a stream, and I thought, this is all right. Viscounts of the West Kingdom I thought was really good. It was, at the moment, it's my favourite one of the 3. I've only played each one of them once, so I haven't really properly analysed them, but I definitely did like Viscounts. It had a right mishmash of mechanisms. I can't even speak now. All thrown together, but it kind of worked. It had an interesting card play system, which determined how far your piece could move, and then you had different actions, and you could unlock buildings that made those actions better. And then you've got the castle control in the middle. Yeah, it was a good game. It was a close game, and I think I managed to win by 2 points in the end. Yeah, I think I managed to beat Mark by 2 points. So yeah, Viscounts of the West Kingdom, 3-player playthrough. It's on the channel if you want to go and watch it. On the 7th of January, a friend of mine, John Dunnett, was coming over. He would literally, we'd booked this like 6 weeks ago. He was coming over from where he lives in the east side of the UK, Ascot, I think it is. He was coming to stay with me for 2 days. This was the plan. He was taking a bit of time off work. I'm taking a bit of time off work. He was going to come over, stay here. We're going to play games together for 2 days. Okay? With the current COVID situation in the UK and lockdown, he's not allowed to do that. But one of the things that he was going to do while he was here was play Great Western Trail, which is either John's favourite game or one of his favourite games. And it's one of my favourite games as well. And I've not played it for ages. So on the 7th of January, and this is on the channel now, if you want to go and watch it, me and John played a 2-player game of Great Western Trail. And we used the actual physical game to play it. So I had the game physically set up in front of me. I was sharing my screen with with John so that he could see what was going on. It wasn't played digitally, it was played with real components and stuff like that. It was very, very clear in that game that I remember the rules, but in terms of playing well, I mean, I scored 39 points, right? 39 points is not a winning score. In fact, it's not even a losing score. Well, it is a losing score, but it's awful, right? It was slightly embarrassing, but I didn't mind. I got to play a great game against John, and it was good fun. And I don't care that I only got 39 points. It makes me want to play the game more because I can do better than that. That was pretty awful. But yeah, that's Great Western Trail. It's on the channel now if you want to go and watch it. And then on the 8th, to finish off that week, I did a live playthrough, a 5-player game of El Grande from 1995. So, one of the goals of the Patreon campaign last year, I think it was last year, was to start a series called Cult of the Old. And the reason for that is so many content creators, board game media people, reviewers like me, it's all focused on Cult of the New. And I'm guilty of that as well. And I don't follow the Cult of the New to try and get the views or to try and, right, because all of my ad revenue goes to charity. So views for me, it's nice to have, but views don't get me any extra money, right? So I don't, and I'm not suggesting that all media people chase the views, but new games are coming out all the time, new exciting games are coming out all the time, and it's part of our role as reviewers and content creators is to bring information about these new games to the public so that you can decide whether it's something you want to buy or not. However, there is also a lot of very old games, or old and very old games, that are still very good. So I decided that every few months I would cover an older game. It has to be 10 or more years old, which for some people is like ancient. And I'm going to cover it and I'm going to do a live stream of it. And my Patreon supporters vote on which game they wanted to see, and El Grande won the vote. Only just, I think Turn on Taxes was second. But we did that. Now, El Grande is one of the classic area control games. Again, 1995 it came out. It won the Spiel des Jahres in 1996. And we played it. It's on the channel now if you want to go and see us playing it. It's a 5-player game. We played it using Tabletop Simulator because, we've no other way of playing that kind of game at the moment because you have hidden information and you select cards simultaneously and secretly and things like that. At the end of the stream, I asked everybody who was there, all of the players there, has this game stood the test of time? Would you play it again? And the answer is yes. Okay? And that is not the case with all games, of that age. I've played games that are 15 years old that I now never want to play again because they haven't stood the test of time or parts of them have been replaced by better mechanisms. I almost got it wrong again here. But El Grande is a fantastic game. So yeah, we just played the base game. There's a whole boatload of expansions for it. Portugal does exist. That'll make sense if you watch the video. And yeah, that's El Grande. Right, moving on to this week, because I'm recording this on Friday what's the date today? 15th. Is it the 15th? Yeah, Friday the 15th. So moving on to this week. On Monday, I did a solo playthrough of High Rise. Now, High Rise is a game designed by Gil Hover, whose birthday it is today. Happy birthday, Gil. Published by Formal Ferret Games, which is Gil's company. And I've played High Rise once before. Gil taught me how to play High Rise. We played over Tabletopia. That was live streamed sometime last year. I think it was about August time last year. And I really liked the game. I thought it was a very good game. It's kind of city building. Theme-wise, it's city building. But it uses an interesting rondel mechanism, which has been tweaked and developed. It's just a solid Euro game. Really good. Now, the original version was on Kickstarter. And then he went back to Kickstarter for a new version with 3D plastic buildings as an optional extra. Which was the original Kickstarter, but then it didn't work because it was too expensive. So he went with the cardboard standees that actually looked really good, and that worked. And now he's gone back on Kickstarter, and he's actually asked me to help him with the rulebook. So one of the pieces of rulebook work that I'll be doing in February is to tweak some of the criticisms of the original rulebook and make a few things clearer. Overall, I felt the rulebook was good. There were a few situations that happened in the game that weren't covered in the rulebook, which I will try and make them clear in the new rulebook. But overall, I thought the rulebook was okay. But Gil said that a number of people have had some negative feedback on it. So I'm going to be working with him on that to find out what some people thought the problems were, and then obviously trying to rectify them. But that's High Rise. That's on the channel now. I did a solo playthrough of it. Would I play the solo game of High Rise again? I actually wouldn't. Okay? And I'm going to drift off topic now and talk about solo games in general. Because there are two types of solo games. Well, there is a spectrum, okay? At one end of the solo game spectrum, you have Hallertau, Underwater Cities, Praga Kaput Regni, where the solo game is literally just play the game as normal and add up your points. That's it. There's no AI, there's no other player, there's no automa, there's no nothing. It's literally just do what you would normally do in a game, but there's nobody else there getting in your way, and just add up your points. Okay? That's at one end of the scale. At the other end of the scale, you have really cleverly thought out complex automas that recreate the experience of playing multiplayer with a series of cards or dice or whatever that simulate another player, and then you're actually trying to beat their score. And there's another type of those where there's actually a particular scenario that you're trying to achieve a certain objective. I'm thinking like Chocolate Factory, which isn't a you've got to beat the score of the other person. It's here's your objectives. These are what you need to accomplish. Okay, so that's that. Maybe it's a triangle. Maybe it's a triangular scale. Okay. The ones where there's a complex automa with cards, dice, or whatever, they don't suit me. Now, I respect those games for being very clever and very well thought out and very well designed, and I'm not saying they're bad. They're not. They're good. But for me, they're too much effort on my brain. I can't be dealing with it, right? It's like trying to control two different spirits in Spirit Island, right? My brain has limitations. The first type of games that I mentioned, where you literally just play the game and add up your score, I'm absolutely fine with them. Now, I get the criticism against those solo games that these aren't proper solo games and that they're a waste of time. It all depends what you want. They're not a waste of time for me because I play them and I enjoy playing them. But I absolutely get that there's nothing clever about them. There's nothing simple about them. There's nothing well designed about them because there isn't anything to them. It's just play the game as normal. But I like those. So let's go back to High Rise. High Rise uses the automa side of things. There are actually two other players in the game. And what's really clever about the game is when it is the other player's turn, you actually have a choice of what you do with them. You can either use them to block your next space that you would go to. So that's really simple. You just move it and it blocks, done. Or if you gain a corruption, you can actually use them and take an action as if it was your piece. So all of it, so this is why I'm saying it's really clever. When you're playing the solo game, you're like, oh, well, if you, for example, there's you and there's two other players. Every round of the game, it's not really a round, but every series of turns, you could have three actions. You could say, well, I'm going to take my turn, I'm going to move there and I'm going to do that. Right? Now it's the other player's turn, I'm going to gain a corruption and I'm going to take a turn as if I was them and get more stuff. And then I'm going to gain another corruption and play the other player. So you could actually have three turns, but corruption is really harsh. Okay, so you want to try and avoid taking corruption if you can. Anyway, that's me drifting off topic and talking about solo games. But yeah, High Rise, very good game, really like it. Variability, I think, is quite high in the game, which in a game like that, I think is important. There's basically 5 districts. Each district has 3 tenant tiles in it out of a choice of 9. I don't know how many combinations that is, but every time you play the game, the tenant tiles that are in the game, that will make a difference to the way that the game plays. Not necessarily the order in which they come out because the zones are fixed. But yeah, really good game. Definitely happily play it again. But for me, I would play that game at 3 and 4 players. That's just my preference. Because even at 2 players, the 2 players have to control a third player. It's one of those games, a little bit like Merv, the Heart of the Silk Road that I covered last year, where the game is really designed for 3 to 4 players. So a 2-player game requires the 2 players to operate a dummy player between them, which again is really clever and it's really well done. It's just not for me. Anyway, a lot of talk there about High Rise. Next, Wednesday the 13th, this is on the channel as well. High Rise is on the channel if you want to watch that. Wednesday 13th, something that I was very much looking forward to, and this is covering Alexander Pfister's new game, Cloud Age. As soon as this got announced, my excitement levels went through the roof. Alexander is one of my favourite designers. Great Western Trail is one of my favourite games. Maracaibo is one of my favourite games. Mombasa is one of my... just brilliant, right? And even his lighter games, I really like those as well. I've kind of gone off Oh My Goods a little bit. But yeah, I like him as a designer. I like what he does. Mechanically, I really like his games. When Cloud Age got mentioned, I was super, super excited. I was like, yay! Another great big Alexander Pfister game. Didn't know much about it, apart from it's post-apocalyptic. Excellent, love that. And we will see. Now, I got a copy. I got a copy after a lot of other people had got a copy, and there was already things being said about the game, and I was getting a very mixed vibe from the internet. If people were expecting the next big super heavy game from him, this is not it, okay? And I think that's what caused a number of people to be a bit disappointed because they'd expected the next Maracaibo. And it's not, it's a lighter game than that. But also, the designer himself contacted me and said, Paul, you might want to skip scenario 1 because this game has 2 ways to play. You can either play a fixed scenario, and there are 3 different scenarios, or you can play the campaign, which is a series of 7 chapters. And he said, you might want to skip chapter 1 because a lot of people have been saying, is that it? A bit underwhelmed, a bit disappointed. Now, I'm like, no, I'm going to start, I played Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion and started on chapter 1, which is literally just like, kids play if you've played Gloomhaven. But I like to start at the start and go through it, in process. I go through it in order, right? So I said, no, it's all right. I don't mind that chapter 1 is a lighter. Thank you for telling me, but I'm going to start at the start. He said, you might even want to skip chapter 2 because chapter 3 is where the main game comes in. And I was like, no, it's okay. I'll start at the start. I'd also heard a few criticisms about the rulebook. And what I'd planned to do was one of my unboxes the game, learns how to play live on camera directly from the rulebook, and then plays the game. Okay? That was the intention of that video. I told the publisher I was doing it, they were fine with it. I told the designer that I was doing it, they were fine with it. And at the start of the video, I said, look, literally, I've not even opened this box yet. This is going to be a video where I learn how to play from the rulebook. And as people have, I've done a few of these before, and the amount of feedback that I've had from people generally saying, these are really good to watch. These are really interesting because they're seeing what goes on in my mind when I'm trying to understand the rulebook, okay? So in that video, I was openly critical of the parts of the rulebook that I felt needed improving. And most people I know seem to appreciate that. And I've had a lot of people messaging me saying, and even the designer himself messaged me and said, thank you very much for all of the feedback. He's made loads and loads and loads of notes. And if they do another version of the rulebook, then they'll fix the problems that were there. Some of the problems were minor, like there were sentences that were so badly written it just didn't make sense. I kind of knew what it meant, but the words themselves didn't really make sense. And then I had some structural issues with the rulebook and the organisation. But overall, I actually felt the rulebook was better than I was expecting, because based on the things that I'd heard, I was expecting to run into all sorts of problems and have to keep asking questions for people in the chat. And in fact, I do need to speak to Graham, because Graham was in the chat ready for me for when I got stuck, and I don't think I got stuck. So maybe I didn't do parts of the game, or maybe I was doing something wrong. I don't know. That video is on the channel now. If you want to see me unboxing the game, learning how to play the game, and then playing it, and I give my final sort of thoughts at the end of the video. I will try to summarise my final thoughts now. The game was better than I expected, and the rulebook was better than I expected. Okay? And the game... So when I say the game was better than I expected, it's an Alexander Pfister game. I was expecting it to be good, but I was expecting it to be really light. I was expecting chapter 1 to be a get to the end of it and go, yeah, okay, that's that's really easy. I need something a bit meatier, right? And chapter 1 is a lighter version of the rest of the game, but it was fine. I didn't feel it was too light. So I think the disappointment in the game that's going around is people expecting a game as complex as Great Western Trail, playing chapter 1 and thinking, is that it? No, it's not it, okay? Chapter 2 is a bit more complex. Chapter 3 is where it starts adding even more stuff in. So I think from chapters 3 and onwards, that's the full game. But even the full game is still lighter than his heavier games, okay? It's not a heavy game. It's kind of a medium weight game, I think. I really liked it. There was a couple of parts mechanically, the way that the cards get half covered over by the cloud, so you can sort of see what's there. I played it solo. I really want to play that game multiplayer because the way that cloud card works, where one player looks at it and says, well, I can see that there's a lot of solar panels on there, so I think I'm going to try and go for energy. And then the next player looks at the card and goes, right, well, I kind of want water, but there isn't much water on the board. So actually, if I go for water, I think there's only going to be one, because the clouds, I'll put a picture on screen. That's probably the easiest thing for me to do. You can see here, there's a card covered partially by a cloud. And then what happens is you take the card, once you've all decided which type of resource you want to collect, you take the card out of the sleeve and it tells you in the middle exactly how many resources you get of each type. I just thought that was really nice. I thought it was a bit different. I've never seen that before in a game, and it actually worked. It worked quite well. So anyway, that's Cloud Age. What I wanted to do, and if I was 20 years younger, I wouldn't have slept that night. I would have sat there, I would have kept the cameras rolling, and I would have played through the entire campaign, okay? Because that video was actually quite long. I think it was about 2 hours. A game would be about 30 to 40 minutes, okay? It was 2 hours because I was learning how to play from the rulebook and then playing it and struggling with the decisions and trying to work out what to do. Now that I've played it, a solo game of that would be 30 to 40 minutes long, and it's only 7 chapters in the whole game. So at some point, I am considering doing a live stream a whole afternoon where I just play through the entire campaign from start to finish in like a 4-hour stream. We'll see what my Patreon supporters want me to do. But yeah, that's on the list of things to do. And it's another game that I now want to play multiplayer whenever we're able to. Right, that's Cloud Age. Finally, last night, a game that I haven't logged on Board Game Geek, even though I played it. And I'm not sure whether I should have done. And it's because tonight, at the time of recording this video, I mean, this video might not even go out until tomorrow, but at the time of recording this video, this is Friday, 15th of January, tonight, I'm doing a live 2-player playthrough of Too Many Bones. So last night, me and Rick learnt how to play Too Many Bones together, and we played through 2 days, and we did 1 battle, and then that was it, right? So does that count as a played game when we only played through about a fifth of the game and then went, right, that'll do, we know how to play, see you tomorrow. So we did that last night, and that is happening tonight. So tonight, Too Many Bones, 2-player playthrough. If you're watching this at any point from Saturday the 16th of January onwards, it's on the channel now. Go and watch that. And I'll talk about Too Many Bones in next month's. Right, that's everything. That's all of the games that I've played, with a few side tangents. I don't have a glass of water, do I? No, never mind. Right, let's crack on. Other content that I have produced since the last video log. Well, the biggest one was my top 10 games list of 2019. I do my top 10 games list of a year after everybody else. In fact, I do them a year after everybody else. So whilst everybody else has been doing their top 10 games of 2020, I've been doing my top 10 games of 2019. The reason why I do it then is I personally, and this is no criticism of the people, in fact, everybody else who does their top 10s at the end of the year, because literally everybody else does them, I don't. And the reason I don't is in December of 2020, I would have not been able to say to you which were my favourite games of 2020. I mean, I could have done, but I didn't feel comfortable in picking them at that time because some of them I've literally only just got through the post and only played once, right? How can I say a game that I got in November or December of 2020 and played once, like Red Cathedral or something like that, was in my top 10 games of the year? I couldn't. So what I do is I do it a year afterwards. So what I've done recently is I've done a top 10 video of my top 10 games from 2019, and that is after I'd let them settle in, let the hype die down, and reflect on them. Okay? Now, saying that, that video was really tough. It was actually about, to be honest, it was about 2 days' work just to make that video, right? Because there was a lot of time and effort that went into thinking about it, planning it, writing it. I mean, it was 6,500 words, that script. And then I ad-libbed during it. And the editing took absolutely ages as well. And on reflection, I'm actually looking back and I'm not happy. So although I've said I need time to reflect and everything else, the process of me coming out and deciding which ones are in my top 10 and which ones are in my honourable mentions, I kept changing my mind on that. And in the end, I probably got a couple of them wrong. I'll admit that. It's a top 20 video, okay? I had about 10 honourable mentions and then I gave my top 10, but it's now a week on since I've released it. I think there were a couple of ones in my actual top 10 which probably should have been swapped with ones in my honourable mentions. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But anyway, that is on the channel now. If you want to see what my top 20 games were of 2019, including my number 1 game of the year. I won't spoil it by telling you that it's on the channel. Other things that I did in the month, I did a live unboxing video of Ginkgopolis, which is a game which is unfortunately going to sit there until lockdown's over. I don't think there's a solo mode for that game. And the Anachrony Infinity Box. So on December 31st, New Year's Eve, I got an email from FedEx to say, you have a package being sent to you from Mindclash Games. Well, okay, what's that then? Because I've not ordered anything from Mindclash Games. So I went into the FedEx package and it said, such and such and such a thing, coming from Mindclash Games in Hungary, weight 2 kilograms. I'm like, what are Mindclash Games sending me? So I have a professional working relationship with them because I've done various bits of work for them. So I contacted them and I said, Happy Christmas, hope you have a good New Year's Eve, whatever. By the way, I just got an email from FedEx. What is it that you've sent me? And they said they were really happy with the work that I did for them in 2020. And they wanted to send me, a gift. And they've sent me an Anachrony Infinity Box. Well, that's some gift. So I was like, wow, thank you very much. That's really, really appreciated because the Anachrony Infinity Box is gorgeous and is amazing. And I was really, really, really happy that they sent me one. So yes, I did an unboxing of that. Now, I did the unboxing of it. It's currently sat in the front room. It's a complete mess. It's going to take me about 3 hours to put all of the stuff away in all of the places that it should go. But yeah, if you want to see me do an unboxing of it, that's on the channel. Other videos, I did 2 how to play videos. Well, I didn't do them, but I released them at the end of last year. Well, one at the end of last year, one at the start of this year. So I did the how to play video for Import Export, which is a game designed by Jordan Draper. From a few years ago, he did a new version, and I was involved in doing the rulebook, and I've done the how to play video. Import Export is a game that I can't wait to play. I don't know whether I'm going to enjoy it or not, but the game is so quirky and so weird that I don't think my how to play video my how to play video is a good video on how you play the game. But I think Import Export is one of those games that you actually need to see being played and you actually play it yourself to go, right, now I get it. Because I've, worked on the rulebook and I've done the how to play video, but I've never really played it. Because, there just hasn't been the opportunity to play it with lockdown and everything else. But I can sort of see the cleverness in the game and the decisions that you have to make in the game and how it all fits together and how it works. We will find out when I eventually get to playing it. But yeah, if you want to learn how to play Import Export, that video is on the channel now. And also Venice, designed by David Turtzi, Andrej Novak, published by Braincrack Games. The game is being delivered to backers, I think, this week, maybe next week, soon. So this is Venice, latest game from Braincrack Games. The how to play video is on the channel now. So a lot of people, I guess, will be going to watch that video once they get their game. But yeah, that's out now. That's a really interesting game as well. I wasn't involved in the development of this game whatsoever. I just did the how to play video, but it uses a spatial engine building mechanism. So you travel around Venice in your gondolas, and you drop off assistants in the buildings, and then that effectively builds up your engine because you leave an assistant in a building, and then every time you visit that building, you get to activate the building. So the more assistants you put on the board, the more buildings you get to activate, and it builds up this engine. Anyway, how to play video is on the channel now. I did a live Q&A. I do a live Q&A once a month. So I did a live Q&A at the end of December. That was like on the 28th. And the other thing that I did in December, so between Christmas and New Year, I didn't take much of a break. In fact, what I did is I did a whole series of live streams of me playing through the Fighting Fantasy book number 5, City of Thieves. I think I started it on Boxing Day. And then I did one a day. So I did the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 30th. Yeah, I think that was it. Might have been 4, maybe 5. Fighting fantasy games are how I got into the hobby. This game is from 1983. I have an original copy of it. I'd already done Freeway Fighter a few months ago, which was really good, really enjoyed that. And it's an interactive. So if you think it's just Paul doing a video of him reading a book, no, it was an interactive session. Every decision point we got to in the game, I asked the chat voted, and effectively we were all playing the game together. Without that, I probably wouldn't have done it. The chat being there is the main part of it for me. It's just really enjoyable to do. And I did enjoy it. Now, City of Thieves was very different from Freeway Fighter, okay? Freeway Fighter was a little bit like Time Stories, in that you play it, you get to a certain point, you die. You restart, you think, okay, don't go that way, there's a snake, right. Let's go this way instead. Oh, we've run out of petrol. You die. Right, okay. So now we know we're going to need to get some fuel or gas before we get to this checkpoint here. Ah, right, we've done that, right. And we played it over a period of, so Freeway Fighter this is, we played it over a period of about 6 or 7 live streams, or maybe 5 or 6, but we actually played the game about 8 or 9 times. And it took that many times of playing it, keep dying and learning new routes until we actually succeeded. City of Thieves, we did it in one go. Touch wood, right? We actually cheated. There's one part in the game where we got into a fight that is just so ridiculously hard, I went, I'm not replaying this game just to get to this same fight and then lose again because we fought something with skill 11, right? And looking about it on the internet later, people have said, yeah, it's a bit of a bad bit of the game is that you get to this point and it's a mandatory fight, you've no way around it, and it's really stupidly hard. That even if you had really good stats, the chance of you succeeding was low. And if you had bad stats, forget it. You basically can't get past that point. So we fudged that, but then we played on. And it was really good. So thank you to everybody who joined me in that one. Really good to go back to them. I will be doing more Fighting Fantasy game books. I don't know when, but I will be doing more of them. What else I've been doing? Other things that I've been doing, not board game related. But for those of you looking at my YouTube channel, you may have noticed that every Tuesday and every Thursday morning I play through a computer game. So I'm live streaming that as part of my January break. And this month I've been playing through Shadowrun Returns. I've got 2 chapters left. I think there's about 30 chapters in the game and I've got 2 left and I'm probably going to finish it this weekend. So this weekend I am probably going to do a live stream of the final part of my Shadowrun Returns playthrough series because next week I've got another computer game that I want to start playing. Right, that is everything. That's all the content that I've made. Let's crack on with the Patreon update. So obviously, as usual, a big thank you to everybody for sticking with me as a Patreon supporter in these difficult times. I know a few people have had to drop their support for financial reasons, and as always, that's absolutely fine, totally understandable. Also had some new supporters as well. So I'm going to put an image on screen now. This is all of the new supporters that joined me in December as either executive producer, or supporter level. So that's the list on screen. Thank you to everybody who has started supporting me in December. If you have recently started supporting me and you're thinking, wait a minute, Paul, why is my name on that? No, why is my name not on that list? That's everybody who started supporting me in December, okay? So what I do is I actually do the Patreon stuff once a month on the 1st of every month. So in the next video log, I will tell you about all of the Patreon supporters who joined me in January. Okay, so yeah, your name will be in the next list. Ad revenue, as mentioned earlier, all of my advertising revenue from YouTube goes to charity. Every penny, okay? And this month, the charity that has been chosen is from a good friend of mine, Chewy, who was on the El Grande live stream with me. So it's the Macmillan charity, which is a cancer support charity in the UK. I've personally had experience with them because they supported my mum when my mum was losing her battle with cancer a couple of years ago. But they were very good at that point. And yeah, Chewy has chosen them. So yeah, whenever you watch any of my videos and those adverts pop up, all of that money is going to charity. So yeah, thank you very much for watching the videos, because obviously the views translate directly to money. And it's interesting because I now know how much money you get for views, which means I now know how much money the big channels get from views. Yeah, it's a lot. Right, in terms of suggestions, please send me your suggestions, either in the YouTube comments, contact me over email, or on Slack. But if you have any suggestions of where the charity money should go, please pick something, because every month I try and give to a different charity. I've given to Macmillan before, but this is the one that Chewy picked. So yeah, if you have any thoughts of which charity you want me to support, yeah, please let me know, and I'll obviously take that into consideration. Next one, the giveaway. So the giveaway last month was to give away, basically, I've got a whole load of games which are either extra spare copies or games which I was sent, which I'm just never going to get around to playing. And I checked with the publisher, and they said, yeah, you can do whatever you want with this game. Some of them I've even bought. One of the games that I was giving away is actually one that I bought from a UK designer. I wanted to support them, to buy a copy of the game, but it sat there for 2 years and I'm just never going to get around to playing it. So anyway, I decided for December to do, I think I said 2 or 3 giveaways, but I decided to do 4. So earlier on today, I took all of my patron supporters who were supporters of mine at the end of December. So again, if you're a brand new supporter, you weren't included, but you will be next month. And I basically, if you're a producer, you get 1 entry into the hat. If you're an executive producer, you get 3 entries into the hat. And I did them all up, mixed them up in the virtual hat, Google spreadsheet, and picked some winners. And I picked 4 winners. I decided to give away 4 prizes. They've all been contacted. 3 of you have got back to me already. 1 hasn't yet. I'll have to chase them up. And basically, I gave you a choice of 6 games. And Mike won first. So Mike's going to pick first off the list. Peter was second. Peter picked second off the list, and so on and so forth. So I've given 4 games away in December. Well, yeah, I'm giving 4 games away now for the December. You know what I mean. But thank you very much for all of your support. Obviously, this is just me just occasionally trying to give something back. The giveaway for this month is a big one. And this is tied in with the playthroughs of Too Many Bones that I'm doing this month. So this month I will be doing probably at least 3, maybe 4, but at least 3 playthroughs of Too Many Bones. And these are not sponsored, okay? So Chip Theory Games are not sponsoring these videos in any way, shape or form. I'm doing them for me. I'm doing them because I've got this game. So many people I know say this game is amazing. Loads of people I know say this is their favourite game ever. And I've had a lot of trouble getting into it. And I think once I get into it, I will realise how good the game is. And the only way I'm going to do that is the same thing I did for Cloudspire, which is repeated plays in a short period of time. For those rules to stick in. Because playing Too Many Bones and then going away for 4 months and then coming back to it is just not working for me. So this month, I'm doing a whole series of playthroughs. As I mentioned earlier, played a bit last night, doing 1 tonight. I'm planning to do 1 on Monday. We'll see. And Chip Theory Games have kindly donated a copy of the base game and Undertow. Now, what I'm going to do is the base game of Too Many Bones is going to be the Patreon giveaway. So you don't need to do anything, right? If you are a patron supporter of mine at producer level or higher, you don't need to do anything. You are automatically entered into this contest, and one of you will win a copy of Too Many Bones, the base game. Now, Chip Theory Games don't actually have any in stock right now, so you won't get it immediately, but as soon as they get them back in stock from the next print run, they'll send you a copy. The other thing that they have kindly donated to me is a copy of Undertow, And with Undertow, I'm actually going to do it slightly different. Undertow, I'm going to make the contest available to the public. So if you're not a patron supporter of mine, or even if you are a patron supporter of mine, to enter the contest to win a copy of Undertow, you need to watch one of the videos that I'm doing. Okay, so in each of the videos that I do for Too Many Bones over the next few weeks, over the next 2 weeks, I will put a link in there of how you enter the contest. And you can enter, the contest will run until like the end of the month or something like that. I think I've said midnight on January 31st. That's when I'll close the contest. If you're a patron supporter, you could win Undertow. You're not exempt from entering, and you actually get an extra free ticket if you do enter. But the Undertow contest is available to the public. The base game is only available to patrons. But that's the giveaway for this month. So a huge thank you to Chip Theory Games for that. I've said it before, Chip Theory Games, I'm a massive fan of them as a company. And yeah, I really like what they do. So that's really good. Right, other stuff. Let's talk about personal stuff that I did. So a few bits from what's happened in my personal life in the last few weeks. Christmas Eve. There was a discussion on my Patreon supporters Slack channel. John Madani started it, and I think this was maybe the 23rd of December. And he said, what would be happening right now is the last day of work, and we'd go to work, and then we'd all leave at lunchtime, and we'd go to the pub, and we'd have a pint, or 2, or 4, and then we'd go home. And it's a tradition. And this, I don't know if this happens in a lot of countries, but it's kind of a bit of a tradition in the UK that on Christmas Eve, employers let their employees go at lunchtime, and then they all go to the pub and they have a drink, okay? And then they go home. That tends to be what happens. And obviously with the lockdown rules, with the coronavirus situation, that wasn't possible, okay? And John started a conversation about how he's a bit disappointed that that isn't going to happen because it's kind of it's a routine, it's a tradition. We do it every year and we can't do it. So I thought, well, I'll tell you what, we can't do that, but how about we have a little Zoom chat with me and my Patreon supporters, okay? So let's do that, just for like an hour. We'll have a Christmas Eve party in the afternoon for me and a few Patreon supporters. That's what we'll do, okay? So I posted about it to patrons and I sent them all a link to the Zoom meeting and we started, and it was 4 hours long and it was brilliant. There were loads of people involved. There were loads of people there from all around the world. Some people who I haven't seen in over a year, some people who I don't talk to that often, but I know they're Patreon supporters, and they were there. And it was just really nice. I think there was about 24 of us at any one point. People had to come in and disappear because, as I say, it was supposed to be an hour long and it ended up being 4 hours because I was enjoying it so much. It was really nice to do it, and I kind of want to do it again. So we might make that our own tradition. A Gaming Rules Patreon supporters Christmas Eve party. Thank you for everybody to attending. That was really, really good. Really enjoyed it. And I really needed it after the week that I'd had. Other things that I've been doing, I did actually take a little bit of time off over Christmas, and I've been doing quite a bit of painting. So tied in with my Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth series, I really wanted to get these miniatures painted. In fact, I started watching Sarastro's videos on how to paint these figures when I got the game, and I bought the materials that I needed to start painting them, and then it was, 14 months before I actually started, because I was really nervous. I was really nervous about painting them. And I thought, I'll do them next. And then I got distracted with the Batman miniatures and the Eclipse miniatures and the something else miniatures. And all of this has been building up to me, I'll just do the Lord of the Rings miniatures next. Anyway, I've now completed 22 of them as of this morning, because Legolas has kind of been finished. I'll put some pictures on screen. I'm really happy with these. They're not perfect. They probably need a bit of highlighting, so I haven't varnished these yet, but I'm really happy with how they've come out. One of the things that I learned from Mark Sarastro, who's become a friend and is such a genuine guy, and he said something to me once which changed the whole way that I thought about painting. Because you look at Mark's figures, and I got annoyed with myself that I can't paint that good. Okay, now this is supposed to be a hobby, it's supposed to be for fun, and I was actually attaching some negative feelings about it because I'm not as good as him. And it's not a jealousy thing. It's I've been painting since I was 13. I'm following the instructions. I've got the same paints. It's just, but it's not the same, right? And it was more sort of, it was annoyed with myself. It was frustration. It was a whole combination of things. And that's just the reality. It's just, I need to grow up and just accept it. And there was something Mark said. It was a phrase he said. He said, we all paint to the level that we can paint to. Now, in Mark's opinion, Mark makes the best painting tutorial videos ever, right, in the world. And I'm not saying that just as a fan. He just does. And I've watched a lot of painting tutorial videos, and his are the best. But I said to him once, you're the best painter I know. And he kind of went, no. And he started pointing out all of these names of like really famous miniature painters that are like, you know, amazing quality. And Mark said, I'm nowhere near as good as them. And I was like, oh yeah. I see what you're saying now. So even somebody like Mark paints to the level that they can paint to. And that's where I am. I'm now happy with these miniatures because I'm painting to the level that I can paint to, and I'm happy with them. Am I improving all the time? Yes, I'm improving all the time. If I painted these a year from now, would they be better? They probably would. But I'm happy and I'm comfortable with the level that I'm now painting at. So yeah, that was really good. Anyway, that's these. I've still got the Hill Troll to do. I've still got Gimli to do, and I've still got the 3 whites to do. And I haven't got any of the expansions from this game yet. If I get the expansions, I'm going to have a whole load more to paint. But these have come out really nice. Other things that I've been doing, I've played a little bit on the piano, like not a lot, but I have learnt how to play Luke's theme on the piano. I've forgotten it now because it was like a week ago since I last touched it. But yeah, I've had a bit of a dabble with the piano. Vicky's playing a lot of it, which is great. And I've been playing some computer games as well, offline, not streamed. I've actually been doing some computer games offline that haven't been streamed. I've played quite a lot of Anno 1800 and a survival game called Stranded Deep, which is you're on an island and you've got to survive. And that's quite cool. I like those kind of games. And I'm playing those as a bit of little sort of relaxation, although I am getting a bit too many late nights. Things on TV, we watched and finished Mandalorian Season 2. Brilliant. We watched and finished Discovery Series 3. Brilliant. Okay, I've liked Star Trek Discovery. Series 1 was a bit with the Klingons, but it was okay. I'm just glad they rebooted Star Trek. Series 2 was better. I liked a lot of Series 2. Series 3, I think, was the best one so far. Series 3 was just really good. So yeah, really enjoyed that. That's some of the TV we've watched. Plans for January. Or what's left of January. So for those who don't know, my plan was to take January completely off work. That was the plan, okay? And produce lots and lots of videos, not paid for, not sponsored in any way, as a thank you to all of my Patreon supporters, and to give myself a bit of a break. Because although creating videos and doing live streams is exhausting and it's a lot of hard work, trust me, I am just as exhausted now as if I'd have been working. The pressure for doing it when it's a sponsored video against this is actually just for fun is a lot less. So although I've been pushing myself a bit too much and I've been doing quite a lot of live streams in the last 2 weeks, the fact that none of them are paid for has actually been quite nice in a way. So yeah, the plan was I would take January off work and give something back and just produce loads of videos. Unfortunately, the rulebook work didn't quite get wrapped up as it should have done in November and December, which means I'm actually having to work. Oh no. You know, I know it sounds bad. Oh my God, I'm having to work. I'm doing a few hours a day on rulebook work. Before you think, oh, Paul, we feel sorry for you having to work. I've worked 6 years with 0 holidays, okay? So I deserve the break. And January was supposed to be my break, and it hasn't worked out like that because I've been having to do this bit of rulebook work. But anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's where we are. This weekend, I plan on finishing Shadowrun Returns. I don't know whether it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but I plan on finishing Shadowrun Returns this weekend, the computer game. Next week, more Too Many Bones, more Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, more Maracaibo. They will be continuing. Also, Vicounts of the West Kingdom solo game. That's next week. And next Friday, I'm doing a game with David Turtsey. We haven't decided what yet. Let me just check my messages. Here we go. 2-player or 3-player. yeah, we're still literally right now discussing what game we're going to be playing. But next Friday, I'm going to be doing a game with David Turtsey. And I've got another game planned for next week as well that I don't know what it is yet. I'll decide this weekend. The week after, more Too Many Bones, more Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, more Maracaibo, Red Cathedral Solo, and a couple of other things not yet decided. The computer game that I'm playing next week is going to be Drake Hollow. Week after, I don't know. Because if Drake Hollow is really good and people want to see more of it, I'll just carry on playing that. But if people go, okay, we've seen you playing Drake Hollow now, we now want to see you playing something else, my Patreon supporters will decide. I'll basically give them a list and say, which of these games do you want me to play? I will only put games on the list that I want to play. So it's not like they're completely telling me what to do. But anyway, that's January. Moving on to February, work returns to normal. However, I'm hoping it doesn't become the normal of last year, which definitely was not what I want. But I'm going to be working on the High Rise rulebook at the start of February. Then I'm doing a rulebook test for Keeper at Sea. This is the expansion for Keeper, Richard Breeze's game. And then I'm doing a rulebook test for Stars of Achios, which is a game that was mentioned to me during one of my live Q&As as a, have you heard of this game? And I said no. I looked it up and it looked amazing. So I contacted the publisher and I just introduced myself. I didn't say anything else. I just said, hello, I've just come across your game because it was mentioned to me this, that and the other. And they've basically, they're interested in some of the services that I've got to offer. So I'm doing that. That's the start of February. Another thing that should be returning in February is the reviews. Now, every month I do a review. My Patreon supporters vote on which game I should review. And I put the reviews on hold in November of last year. Or was it October? I've not done a review for ages. In fact, Castles of Burgundy was the game that was voted on as the next game for me to review. And I didn't do any in October. I didn't do any in November. Or maybe I did in October. Anyway, I've not done any for about 3 months. And I want to know what you think. Because I'm not missing them, to be honest. I really like doing the live playthroughs. And at the end of the playthrough, I give you my opinion on the game. The reviews are about a day's work just to produce a 10 to 15 minute review video. Now, I know a lot of people like the review videos, but I'm keen to know what you think. Would you be happy if I didn't do actually any more actual reviews and I just stuck to all of the other content that I produce? Or do you actually still want me to do the reviews? I will be asking my Patreon support as well, but I'm interested to see what you think. Put your comments in the chat. Let me know what you think. But I do have one day in February allocated to doing a review. And it will be Castles of Burgundy because that's what was voted on. But I might actually ask my Patreon supporters and say, look, you did vote on this like in August or September. Do you still want me to review this? Or would you prefer it if I reviewed a more up-to-date game? The other thing with the reviews as well is it's not just about, oh, I'll turn the camera on and talk for 15 minutes. Anybody can do that. It's playing it multiple times at multiple player counts, making lots of notes. I spend about 3 hours writing up my thoughts, writing it as a proper script, formulating it, filming all of the B-roll and editing it together. The whole process, not counting playing the game multiple times, is about a day. So yeah, it's a lot of work to make one. And I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm just curious to see what you think. That's everything. Right, it's 3 o'clock now. I'm gonna start getting this edited. I might be able to get this video out today for Patreon supporters because the Too Many Bones is at 8 o'clock tonight. So I've actually got probably, he says, enough time to edit this correctly. As long as the audio's okay and as long as the video's okay, I might be all right. Anyway, I'm waffling. Huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. I know a lot of you like the monthly video logs, and it is your Patreon support that obviously funds these videos. These videos are not sponsored in any other way by any other publisher. So yeah, it's thanks to the support of the Patreon. And if you like the content that I make, either these videos, my playthroughs, or whatever, and you are in a position to be able to support me, then please consider doing so because your support directly goes to funding the channel and yeah, improving things and producing more content. That's everything. Until next time, take care everybody, and thanks for watching. is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.